Am I looking like this? Do I look okay for the ladies?
You look perfect. You look perfect.
I know it's mostly a ladies' crowd.
Now wait a minute. Does your pick match your?
Yes, it has to match.
It has to match, right? Ladies and gentlemen, very excited to be with my friend Oz Noy today. We are at Stages Music Arts in Cockeysville, Maryland. I love this place. I've known Charles, the manager here, for a long time, and I have plenty of friends where I live that send their kids here and come here not just to record, but to take lessons. I'll be sure to put the link in the description. So I want to say thank you to everybody at Stages for making this possible.
Yeah.
Oz, man, dude. Good to see you, brother.
You too.
We met online in the pandemic.
Yes, correct.
And now you're coming through with Jimmy and Dennis to make an all-instrumental live recording.
Correct.
That you're piecing together from 4 performances?
Yep.
Tell me about that.
Well, every couple of years I make a live album.
Yeah.
I don't plan on it, but it's a good way to kind of document the period, you know what I mean? Like how you sound, and usually I record live, you know, if I do a live album, it's with a band that I played for a while with, you know what I mean? Because then you got a vibe and you got a sound.
You're used to each other.
Yeah, because you know, when you tour, you really get something going. When you go into the studio for a day, not as much, but when you really tour, it kind of comes together. So before the pandemic, we started this band with Dennis Chambers and Jimmy Haslip. I finished an album called Snapdragon at the time. And then we started to tour.
You want to hear a funny thing real quick?
Yeah.
So my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, they each have names that my kids give them, you know, like grandparents or whatever. My sister-in-law's name is Snapdragon.
Really?
That's what my kids call her. They call her Snapdragon.
It's a flower.
It's Nighthawk and Snapdragon.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Anyway, keep going.
Really, that's funny.
I swear to God, it's true.
So anyhow, we started to tour. We did a European tour in 2019, right before the pandemic. Then everything stopped.
Yeah.
So then I did release the record in 2020. But then after that, we couldn't do anything. And this year, we started to tour again. So we did a couple of tours in the US.
Yeah.
And then we just came back from Europe. So I said, like, you know, it's perfect. We're coming straight off tour. We're all going to still be warmed up and have the shit together. And that's why I decided to record. Otherwise, I wouldn't record live album.
I mean, you guys mesh incredibly well. I hope to be able to include a little bit of footage in there. Okay, Dennis.
Yes.
I'm from Baltimore. Everybody from Baltimore knows and loves Dennis.
Yeah.
And how did you get hooked up playing with him? And I would love to hear just how you view him sitting in with filling in with you and Jimmy. Because one of the things I love to say on my channel is that you're only ever as good as your drummer, you know? And Dennis is one of those drummers I feel like, you know, there's the groove, and then like he'll kind of attack it kind of at the sides, almost like people who are sculptors.
Yeah.
Like they say like that the thing they're sculpting is already inside. and they gotta
It's true.
they gotta carve it
Yeah.
out
Yeah,
where
you're
it's
right.
not this thing and I
Yeah.
replicate this thing. It's I'm chipping at that and I'm chipping at that.
It's like a bar and 4 beats, and he's chipping.
Yeah,
out
and
the
you see him
bars. You're
slow
right.
down and catch up and grab something.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear just your take on that.
Yeah. Well, I wish I would be as good as my drummers, but
We all do.
yeah. But I was lucky enough to have steady bands with really great drummers.
Yeah.
So when I started in New York, the main guys were Anton Fig and Keith Carlock. I played with them for a gazillion years,
Yeah.
and we've done like hundreds of gigs together. Then for the last maybe 10 or 11 years, I toured with Dave Weckl. That was
Yeah.
my guy that I did all my tours with. And then for the last couple of years, it's been Dennis.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of used to that
Yeah.
thing. You know?
Yeah. Well, you're in good company. You're used to
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah. So every one of those guys sound different,
Yeah.
completely different.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because they all have amazing grooves, like their pockets, the feel of how they sound. It's really, really spectacular, you know. But it's different.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you give the same music to every drummer. It sounds like a different band.
That's right.
But that's why I do it, because it's fun and it makes me inspired. And also, the tunes kind of, because you tour and you play live, they kind of, I don't know,
They change a little bit.
They change a little bit. They got different character. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's why I like to, at some point, to record a live album, because it's a kind of a snapshot in time. But this is how the music sounds now. You know?
I love it.
Yeah.
So one of the grooves that I caught you do last night, I was hoping you could show me or how you feel it. You started it. I couldn't tell whether it was like an F sharp to G kind of thing, but it was off. And then Dennis and Jimmy
yeah.
came in like in a different spot.
Oh, you're talking about this? You're talking about the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the hell is that?
That's a tune called Twisted Blues.
Okay.
And actually, this is an interesting story. I like to write music sometimes. I'm not the only one, but I like to write music sometimes that's based over songs that are already been written, meaning you take a form. I call it a form. So
Right.
my favorite Wes Montgomery tune is Twisted Blues. It's this.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
Twisted Blues. So I always thought to myself, like, man, I always would like to write a tune over those changes.
Yeah.
So the way I always start is I found a riff, a vamp, a groove, whatever you're
Yeah.
gonna call it. So in this case, I was probably sitting at home and I
Yeah.
came up with this. So it's basically, it's the same chords as the Twisted Blues. It's G flat to G.
Yeah, but you're doing it.
No, I'm playing like G7, 9.
Yeah.
No, it's like,
Uh,
no, yeah. That's
okay.
it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I took that.
I'm not used to playing that stuff.
It's okay.
I know.
So basically, I took that idea. I had like, oh, this is a cool riff, and it's set nicely on those changes of the West thing. So
Yeah.
what I end up doing is I took that groove. I usually program drums. I have a studio at home, so I'll do some drum programming,
Yeah.
and I'll play a bass line.
Yeah.
And then if I feel like that's a good vamp, then I'll start writing the tune.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's usually. So what happened basically is I basically wrote a tune over the form or the chords. It's loosely the chords of
Yeah.
Twisted Blues, because then you're not up in the air. You have chord changes and you have something that moves around, so you just have to write over it.
Yeah.
So then what it is there's this vamp.
Maybe that.
Then Yeah, exactly. Back. Exactly. Now here you got, which is the Wes Montgomery thing. It's the diminished thing that he does on his tune.
So wait, what is it? Like that and just go up minor thirds?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So I kind of stole that from him.
Yeah.
And then, so that was the head. And actually I added, Wes doesn't go to the 4. I went to the 4 because the melody kind of led to that, you know what I mean? And the bridge is a little more complex because the chords that he plays are D flat and 2/5 and B.
Yeah.
It's all those 2/5s. So I wrote my own melody over those changes.
Yeah.
So that's the story of the tune.
Okay.
Now, what you're asking was in the beginning.
Where he came in.
Yes.
I was listening to you and I was like, okay, I know where this is going to come in. And as soon as he came in, I was like, that is not where I thought he would come in.
Well, the thing is, we know the vamp. We know what it is. So we know it's like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know where the 1 is. 1. 1. Yeah. So because we know where it is, when I started playing it, I was probably doing this. I started just showing them the 1. Like I was just doing like. And so everybody already know 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And then what happened is, and we do that a lot throughout the show, is we like, let's say, because we all know where we are. The key is if you know where you are, everybody can do stuff, and we still know what's going on. So we know where the 1 was. So I just started to mess around with it, like.
Yeah. Yes.
Just those rhythms that I kind of mess around with at the time, but because Dennis and Jimmy, they know the tune. They know that it's bum, bidum, badim, bidum, bidum. So we knew what was going on. Then when they started to come in, that's a thing that I told them to do. It's not like that on the record. On the record, we're just playing straight up, you know. But I told them, you know, we kind of want to vamp on that section, so just build it up slowly. So Dennis was probably doing whatever he does, and then Jimmy was slowly doing his stuff. And then eventually I was just kind of looking at them, and then we get into the groove, and then it's straight up.
Well, so that's kind of what I was getting at, is you're used to playing together, and the songs are somewhat improvised. Like there's a structure to them, but like every intro I saw you do, like there was one point, and I know this is a live album where you're doing multiple takes and you're going to try to find the best little nuggets from each take. But there was one intro you did, and you did it over 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
And each one was, it didn't really even resemble the other ones. Like in a tiny way. But if you were to play them, I mean, it was just completely different. So is that the plan for every single one?
Well, it's a jazz gig. Although it doesn't sound
maybe
like
I'm missing that obvious point.
Although it doesn't sound like jazz, it's not swinging, and there's no upright and saxophone and I don't know what else. But the improvisation part of it and the concept has always been jazz. So I think about my tunes as like a standard, and then you improvise over it.
Okay. Can you show me? Do you remember this one I'm talking about?
It might be one of 2, but I think
I believe it was the one that was going to be the encore.
Oh yeah.
And when you stopped like 2 or 3 times.
Yes.
And can you show me what you were like, what that was, or what you were thinking?
Yeah. Well, so.
Or give me a ballpark of what you may have been thinking.
Oh. First of all, I'm trying to not think. That really messes up.
I remember Dennis saying.
Dennis actually told me, "Hey, stop thinking."
Yeah, hey, you're thinking again.
You know what happens when you play? Again, when you play a string of shows, like you play live. From various reasons, you get into some kind of flow where you just play and you go for things, but you don't think about what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And it happens, and sometimes it happens and it's great, sometimes it happens it's not so great, but a lot of times even out of those mistakes comes really cool things, you know?
For sure.
And a lot of times you would kind of go with it, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I messed this thing up, let me go with it. That's why, you know, but Herbie was talking about this thing with Miles when he hit a wrong note, and Miles went with that note, and suddenly it wasn't a wrong note, it was a part of the music, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't try to hit wrong notes necessarily, but it's hard sometimes, you know, like to keep the flow, you have to in a way not think, you know?
Yeah.
So now when we're recording, I'm going like, man, I want to try to capture what was done 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So it's always in the back of the
Yeah.
head. But then if I just let it go and go like, okay, this is what it's going to be now,
Yeah.
then it flows. So I think probably what happened, I was trying to do this intro and I was starting to think, oh, what happened if I'll do something that
Yeah, that really worked last time. Then you try to remember it, and it's not
suddenly
there.
not there. Yeah.
It's
So
not
that's
there.
what it is I have a song called Twice in a While.
Mm-hmm.
That actually there's a lot of people that transcribe that solo on YouTube, and I have no idea how they did it because I would never be able to play that solo again.
There was a guy here last night that transcribed your solo.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And I don't know. Have you ever really tried to
Transcribe my stuff?
anything
No.
me neither. I'm endlessly amazed
No,
at
it's-
people.
And that solo, I remember when I was in the studio recording that song, I remember it was hard for me. We did like maybe 4 or 5 takes, and I pieced together. I don't do overdubs, not on this or not ever. So I just basically
Get what you get. Just
yes, but I do enough takes that I can kind of put together the
splice
best
it.
of, Yeah, so sometimes it's never perfect, but it's good enough,
Right.
So that solo was, maybe out of 2 or 3 takes. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But you put a gun to my head, I can't play that thing.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know what I mean? But somebody did.
But that's not the point, though.
Yeah.
The point is to go for it in real time.
Yeah, and improvise in real time. So
Yeah.
when I did this intro yesterday, I basically did a solo version of that song.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called Twice in a While. And what I wanted to do is I can just play it. The song is just this. It's not just, but it's...
Okay.
Like that's the vibe.
Yeah.
And then it goes to A minor. And there's all this stuff happening.
Show us those chords for everybody
Okay.
watching. Was that F minor 7?
F minor 9.
Okay.
And then C minor 7. A flat major. I think this is B flat 6. Yeah.
B flat over G minor.
I guess that's one way to look at it, yeah. And
Yeah.
the same thing happened. And now it's G minor.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And then
cool.
it goes, the same thing goes in A minor.
You just shift it up.
Yeah.
All right, so you got the same same 4 chords.
And then there's sections in the middle, like, that are a little complex, let's say. Like this thing.
Yes. Yeah. That.
I wrote that, I don't know. So back to this thing again.
Yeah.
So this was recorded with a band. I used to play it live.
Yeah. I love those changes.
But people like that tune, and I kind of figure out that I can kind of do a solo piece of it where those sections here, I can kind of harmonize them and play whatever I want on it, So what I did, where I stopped a couple of times, is I probably did a vamp. I put some loop here, and then I play it over a little bit. I don't know. And then when I was
just keep going. This is going to be the take you keep anyway.
so yeah. So anyhow, so when I was ready to play the melody, I would start like more rubato, And there's a pad in the background. But here, I would try to go for some different harmony.
Yeah. Ooh.
Shit. Something like that. I don't know.
See, he's human.
Oh well. And then I'll do, I can. And then I'll do the same thing on the A minor. Oh, sorry. And here I'll reharmonize it like. do. I don't know. I mean, a lot of this stuff I'm improvising. I'm trying to go for in a moment.
I know that.
And then I'll play the melody, you know. So I probably stopped because in my head I thought what I did sucked. So
No, I just think that the approach is cool.
Yeah.
You know, to say we're doing 4 live takes or whatever.
Yeah.
And even the intros, even the way that the band comes in,
Yeah.
is different every time.
Yeah.
And you want it to be, and it's
again, I'm kind of
unapologetic.
thinking about it as jazz, you know. So
Yeah.
there is certain things that okay, this is the tune. It's not exactly just because we're playing groove music, and the difference between what I'm doing and then like if you do like a straight ahead record, that is, I do this stuff all the time too. But if you play like swing and stuff where it's more straight ahead, if the hits or the stuff is not really in the pocket exactly, or somebody slipped a little bit, it's not a big deal. But with groove music, you really hear it right away, and it sounds sloppy or it sounds out of the pocket. So the reason I do a couple of nights like recording live is because it's mostly not the solos. I think with 2 nights I'll be okay.
Yeah.
But it's mostly the heads and the melodies and all that stuff because. And maybe some of the interaction that happens because if there's mistake or that stuff is sloppy, then it's not usable. Where in other kind of style of music, it's a little more forgiving, you know what I mean? So I don't know, that's my approach about it, you know?
No, and for everybody listening, I know it's very hard to talk about music and what you can expect to hear, but it is groove.
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge groove. The sound in here last night was thick and swampy, it just was. So even though you're playing all the spacey stuff, when you have those two with you, it's just like
And we played not that it would, if we didn't play together a lot, it wouldn't sound good, but because we play a lot together, it's gelled. We don't have to talk about it. We don't have to, I can just have a small little look and we know where we're going.
I was just talking to Jimmy back in the green room, and he was like, we were over in Italy for 2 weeks, so we got plenty of grease on us.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Palestine grease.
Yeah, that's right, the Palestine grease.
But that's the key. Otherwise, I'm one of those guys that I don't even go in the studio unless I play live and I feel that it gels, But there's a lot of jazz records, some of the greatest jazz records in history were done with people maybe doing a little rehearsal and coming in and playing.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it's like, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe it's just the type of music. To me, I kind of have to feel the thing to gelling.
Well, it's clearly your intent. It's what you want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Perhaps you don't want to have it so scripted, and you want to be live in the moment. Not everybody does. I mean,
it could still be not scripted. Like what we're playing is not really scripted, but it's more like we know how to play with each other. We know the tempos. We know. Like we don't know what's going to happen, but we know if somebody goes here, then he can go there and all that kind of stuff. There's certain kind of things that sometimes you have to talk about, Sometimes you have to go like, hey, you're playing too much or you're playing too little or, a lot of that stuff people don't read each other's minds. It's like, it happens through time,
You're thinking again.
Yeah, well. In order to not think, you have to think.
That's right. You got to learn it and then forget it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly, yeah.
Can we talk about the gear and the sounds you're getting on
Sure.
this record?
Yeah.
You have quite a lot of toys.
Yeah.
So let's start with the 2-Rock back there.
Yeah.
What is that? Why do you play it?
Because it's the greatest amp on the planet. Well,
I want to play it.
Yeah, you play. I'll let you play in. It's actually it's like third of the volume that I play now when I play live because we're just sitting here. But yeah, you wanna try?
Yeah. You want to try this thing?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But one thing I would say is
don't touch anything.
No. The reason I play 2-Rocks is, to me, there's kind of like the best modern amps because they kind of, I guess they do what Dumbo did, like they took Fender and amplified it or something like that. So they have different versions. So this version is the classic reverb, and it's basically a super reverb on steroids, if you can call it that. I use a TS1 also, which is kind of like the overdrive special.
Does
I
that
actually
that has
have one
reverb in it? But do you use
No, I
reverb
use
on your-
reverb on my pedal.
Okay.
It's got great reverb, but this is I prefer that just because I can control it more.
Yeah.
You know. But anyhow, so between the classic reverb and the TS1,
Yeah.
that's kind of pretty much what I use. The Tool Rock stuff is really dope.
Yeah.
You know.
Let's try it.
Yeah. So you plug into my amp. right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Go for it.
It's super beefy.
It's super beef, that cable. Oh, yeah, dude.
Again, I have to open it louder, but.
Yeah, it's a fun amp, for sure.
You know, the thing about this amp is it grabs pedals perfectly. It's like pretty much the best platform
All
for
right.
pedals. This amp.
Okay. You had a tremendous, like, vibrato Hendrix sound last night.
I did. Okay.
You did. What was that?
It could be the Univibe with an overdrive.
Yeah, definitely Univibe.
Oh yeah, it's one of the.
And what'd you have with it? Can you dial that in?
Yeah. Give me the. Oh, you want to do that?
Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
it's
hit me with it.
It's probably this. That's
Yeah,
it.
that sounds so killer, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually probably more of this if there's even more to it. Play. It could also be this. I have a couple of things.
See, he doesn't even know.
No, but do this.
Yeah.
That's more like a fuzz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that vibe
Yeah.
sounds great with
But
that
a lot
amp.
of it is the Univibe really creates that,
Here,
you know.
I want to hear you mess
Yeah.
with it.
I can show you just my signal.
Yeah, that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
I just, you had to let me play once.
So again, if I open the amp louder, then you get all the.
Yeah.
But basically, I go through a wah-wah, exotic wah-wah, just a regular wah,
Yeah.
you know.
And just
then-
real quick, I'm gonna put a picture of the pedal board up so you can actually see this.
Yeah. And then after that, this is not in the chain. This is way later in the chain, but I have this plus pedal. It's kind of like a freeze pedal. And there's a Leslie simulator connected to it. So all the pads that I do,
Yeah.
it's this. So it's basically the plus pedal with the Leslie on,
Yeah.
which sounds kind of like an organ. I kind of
Sounds great.
Yeah, so I like that. And then from there, it's pretty straight up. Like I plug it into, I have an Octavia,
Yeah.
Dunlop Octavia. I have a Vamaram, that's my signature fuzz. That's that thing. Like that. I don't use it much actually on this specific set that I'm
Play
playing.
me just the Octavia for a second.
Oh, and the Octavia is the Hendrix thing.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
What brand is that?
This is just this is the Dunlop thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds killer.
Yeah, that's good. And then from there,
Yeah, that's good.
and then from there I use Exotic for many years. So they had these pedals
Yeah.
there's an RC booster and AC booster.
Yeah.
And they made a signature pedal for me that's called AC RC Oz, whatever the fuck that means. But it's basically the two pedals together with a little more gain on the RC. So my main sound is actually the RC is on a lot. So
Yeah.
it's you kind of play hard, it kind of starts to crunch a little bit.
Yeah.
And then there's an AC, which is like the overdrive. And then I usually would put the RC into the AC, so that you get that big sound. So this is without. Everything
Killer
sounds
sound,
better
man.
loud.
I know that.
Yeah.
I know that.
So that's my main lead tone, really. And then if I want the more twangy kind of bluesy tone, then I use a TS-808. That's it.
Right on, man.
Yeah. And everything else is just...
Yeah, what are these?
It's just whatever.
No,
No, so
just in the box.
so I have a phaser, you know, for funky stuff. I don't know. I have the Univibe we just played. I have a tremolo. And I have this thing I use. My foot is always on it. Is the Rotosim? This is a Rotospin actually, but it's the same thing as by this company called DLS. And it's a Leslie simulator. And I use that all the time on and off when I play. I don't know if you noticed, but I'll play a line, then I'll play a chord. And you know. So I do that. Like, I can show you, like.
You really are riding that the whole time.
Oh yeah, the whole show. That's what I'm doing. But because what happened is, I think about it as I'm comping for myself. Like if I was a piano player, I would do it with the left hand, you know. So because I'm not, you know, you play a line. It's almost like question and answer, but it's also like I'm comping for my lines. Yeah. So when I do that, when I put the Leslie, something I've done for years, it's almost like it divides between the lines and the chords, and it gives it like a different kind of texture. So that's what I do with that. That's like, my foot is on it probably like 50% of the time.
Yeah.
You know?
I picked up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll even gonna play a melody, and I'm just gonna play a line, like I'll play in a melody, I'll just play one chord with it, and that's it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like even, I'm trying to think of a tune on Chocolate Soufflé, or if maybe on the bridge I have something like this. Yeah. I feel like it makes a difference, especially with the band. When you play a trio with bass and drums, there's a lot of space to fill sonically. So I have that space, and to make it interesting, I do that stuff all the time. It got kind of developed over years. It wasn't like an idea that just came in one day. It was just from doing it a lot.
I believe that it came from necessity, from doing it a lot and playing in trios and having to come with new ways to fill out sound and keep it interesting and keep it moving.
Yeah. So that's it. So everything on this board is really stuff that I use for this gig, you know? The basic sound is just the guitar, you know, going into I have a slap delay that's on all the time. You hear it? Yeah.
Very subtle.
Yeah, very subtle, but it kind of gives it depth. And then I have a reverb. I have this the tone reverb that I really like. And then I add other delays depending on what I do. So if I play a solo, just kind of more a straight up solo, I'll add a little like. Yeah. Because it's all about depth. It gives more depth. Yeah. And if I play more like the slow stuff, you know, it gives more echo. Yeah. But it all depends. Like if you play a fast tune or a tune that is more shuffly or something, sometimes all that stuff makes a mess, or you want it to be dry. So it's just different elements of depth, really.
If I had your amount of choices, I'd probably make very few choices.
But you know, it works with my music. You know what I mean? It works for the tunes.
Yes.
Like I can just plug in the amp with an overdrive. I'll play. It'll be
Sure.
But it's not gonna be as rich as I do it when I play with a band. You
For
know?
sure.
That's the. So that's pretty much it. You see, simple. I told you.
I love it.
Nothing. There's nothing here really.
Well,
And then it goes to the line 6, and the line 6 HX is where all the pyrotechnics happen.
yeah.
So it has all the weird delays and tremolos and pitch shifter and the looper.
All the fun stuff.
All the fun stuff, yeah. And that's the stuff that all the stuff here that's just straight up sounds, and the
Yeah.
line 6 is all the wacky.
Yeah, I see that one's called Elephant Man.
Well, that's just that's actually their version of Memory Man. But the reason I have it here is because you can do this stuff.
Yeah.
Like instead of doing it with a hand.
Yeah,
all the
yeah, yeah,
time,
instead
I
of-
do it
yeah.
with the leg. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that stuff. That's good.
Yeah.
And then there's there's reverse delay here, you know. And then if I want to make it a little more psychedelic, I put this weird delay that I have.
Oh, that would drive me crazy. That would drive me crazy playing backwards like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyhow, and I tap on it a lot. And so there's other stuff here. There's like, I like this thing. This is a pattern tremolo. You can create the patterns that you like.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's kind of random a little bit. So I like to do that, like if you put like a fuzz on it or something. And you put some weird delay on it. That's the cool shit.
That is cool.
Or even without the fuzz. So that's the stuff. I have there's some kind of a ring modulator kind of thing here.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But I treat it not more as like a lot of it is I use it in and out when I play.
Yeah.
It's like it's not a part of composition, but it's a part of my improvisation, you know.
It's like a
what I
little
mean?
texture change here.
Exactly, and I try to make it musical. Like I'm not gonna just do this. That's not musical. But if I do something and I kind of,
Yeah.
you know, that sounds more like music to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all this stuff is for a reason, really. If I could and my music wouldn't need it, I'll just play with a wah-wah and a fuzz and I don't know, and a reverb. I'll be fine.
It's pretty much what I do.
And it's fine, isn't it?
It is fun.
There you go.
It is fun.
One time I was in China and we got to the gig and we didn't have a down transformer.
Oh, to change the voltage?
To change the voltage. And I couldn't play with my board, so I just used I had that Vemuram fuzz.
Mhm.
I just plugged it straight to it was a twin reverb with
Yeah.
a wah, and I did my gig and it was fine.
Of course it was, man. Of course.
Yeah.
Well, dude.
I had some thoughts after.
Yeah. You're like, maybe I'm doing too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely something to be said for when you remove choices. You know, you're going to play stuff that you otherwise wouldn't. You know, you're going
Yeah.
to, whether it's music or cooking or
It's
or
liberating,
whatever,
that's for sure.
it is liberating. I always tell students, you know, try coming up with lines just two strings. You know, stuff
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
actually great. I used to do that also. It's really great.
Yeah.
That's a very, very good idea
Yeah.
to practice that way.
So before we go, I was wondering if you would show me
Yes.
one little, like, to keep it on that frame,
Yeah.
like a simple solo approach for someone working over a couple chords, and maybe even switch guitars if you want to try this
Oh,
one.
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
try
yeah.
that one.
Let's switch guitar.
Yeah, because I know you want to try this through your
Yeah,
rig.
yeah, yeah. Probably better than mine.
Yeah. Well, what is this, by the way?
It's a John Cruz master build Strat. It's really nice.
Man, snappy, isn't it?
Yeah, very snappy.
Have you never played one of those before?
I have, but never on my.
Never through your rig.
Yeah. It's really good. It's great. Brilliant design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's say I was a student, and let's say I was like, man, I'm trying to play over, say, like, A minor 7 to D7.
Okay.
Something that people like. It's not really out, but it's something. This is one of these classic progressions. I can't tell you how many people have been like, "What do I do if I have a minor 1 and a major 4, or like a dominant 4?" You know, like.
Okay, so the first thing that probably everybody would do is they'll play A minor pentatonic, correct?
Yeah.
But you can also, if you want to be a little jazzier, because you have a D7 here,
Yeah.
you can play D7 Mixolydian. Or you can look at it also as A minor Dorian, which is the same scale.
Yeah.
So first of all, the first thing is you need to know what scales you're using in order to do something with it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So the first thing will be, if you play A minor pentatonic over it, you have to know it all over the neck. The key to playing guitar is knowing everything all over the neck all the time.
Yeah. Triads.
Yeah, if you don't know that, then you'll have block spots that you're going to hit the wrong
Well,
note
one thing I always like to tell people, I always find like us guitar players, we could say, oh, you could do this, you could do that, you could do this, you could do that, and it's like 85 different things. I always try to show people, like, you know, we talk about minimizing your options, like give them one little key takeaway to focus on. Where just like, you know, the note that is different, that would be out of key going into D7 here, is F sharp.
Yeah.
So the answer to your questions, the thing you're looking for when you're hunting for something, start with F sharp and kind of go from there.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's just like a kind of simple approach.
Yeah. You know, you can look at it also as you can add those notes into the pentatonic, meaning if this is A minor pentatonic, and if this is, let's say, A Lydian, and not Lydian, A Dorian, so you add those extra 2 notes, which is the 6, the F sharp, and the B, which is the 9.
Yeah.
And then it makes things a lot more, it makes it, I don't know, a little more.
I'll tell you what, let's play through a couple,
Okay.
and then we'll call it a day.
Cool.
I like it. What's our time back there? Good, okay.
Hold on one second, I gotta drink a lot.
See? Not too difficult.
No, it's easy.
Check. Oh, this is... That one's killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now I'll play just minor pentatonic. So now I'm gonna add those extra notes. See what I mean? It's a little more rich, you know? That's the 6 and the 9. You know, so it just richens the harmony a little bit because it gives you some extra color, you know.
Yeah.
So I will do that.
All right. Well, thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time, letting me join you
Absolutely.
on the stage here.
Yeah.
And everybody, the links will be in the description. Well, whatever links you give me. You going to give me links?
Yeah, I'll give you some.
Yeah, give me some links. But I'll also hit links to Stages Music Arts here in Cockeysville. Thanks to Charles and Dave and everybody else for allowing me to come do this. And everybody out there, stay safe. Keep that guitar in your hands. Hit subscribe, share with your friends, all the fun things. And when this record comes out, I'll be sure to let you all know. And, you know, can't wait to hear the finished product.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Cheers. See, there you go.
Oh, wow. Phenomenal.
Yeah. Awesome. I like to make it